Welcome back to Beyond the Classroom. I've got Lindsey Stutheit with me this morning,
Good morning.
and we're going to talk about trainings and programs that the Business Studio offers to entrepreneurs throughout Southeast Wyoming and Northern Colorado. So, can you give us some insight into the core trainings and programs that you do offer?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do offer some things that are original to the business studio here at LCCC. And then we also work with other agencies to connect our participants to the trainings that we know are happening. We're huge believers in not duplicating when possible, especially if there's somebody that's already put in a ton of work in a training and it's free for our clients. We're going to make sure we make them aware of as many of those opportunities as possible. So within the business studio, what we've really focused on, and again, this is from feedback within the provider ecosystem, like Small Business Development Center saying, hey, it would be helpful if our clients could access this sort of training. We already offer all of these trainings, but we need help with this. Or if we get some feedback from marketing agencies that are like, we would love to help these clients, but they kind of need to be here before we can provide our services. So we're trying to help them get to that here, if that makes sense. So the three areas that we really focused on were legal, specifically with human resources, hiring paperwork, and then accounting, which also includes some of those principles when you are doing payroll and adding new staff, but then also just um, general bookkeeping, QuickBooks, those sorts of things. Um, Employee handbooks, things that you just don't always think about when that's not the world that you live in. You're not an HR professional. But as you start to grow your business, it's really important to set some of those standards and boundaries right off the bat when you bring in that first part-time employee even. So helping in those two areas has been big with that human resources, that accounting. And then as I mentioned previously, marketing is just another one of those areas that a lot people know they need in their business. They know they need to be marketing what they're doing, but they don't have that skill set or the time because they're really focused on the business. But to make that jump to one of our partners in Cheyenne, that's like West Edge, which is going to be a full service marketing um, company, it's really difficult when you're just starting out to really need those services. So we've had a lot of conversations with West Edge, like how can we help them as they build and grow into that, and what would be sorts of um, trainings or partners that we need to develop within that kind of runway. Because obviously, when they get to a certain point, West Edge is the perfect place to start getting them on a retainer to do their social media to make sure that they're really hitting those key targets with search engines, those sorts of things. So, our trainings have really focused on those three areas. Within that, like I said, we have um, a create an employee handbook training, things that they leave with something, not a theory about something, but they leave with it. So when we do that employee handbook training, they spend those 3 hours developing that booklet with the really important components. Of course, they can personalize it, add the things that make it unique to their business, but really helping those business owners leave with the things so that I don't want to say a waste of your time because it's never a waste of your time to get information, but we want them to feel like they left with what they needed after dedicating that time or that resource.
Right, because time is expensive,
It is
and a tangible to walk away with is huge.
exactly. So if we're going to do the bookkeeping class, we want them to leave knowing how to do their own bookkeeping or to have a more, um, I don't want to say intelligent, but a higher level conversation with their bookkeeper because they understand more of what is happening so that they're an educated partner in that process. A lot of businesses end up having challenges with their bookkeeping and accounting because they don't know enough to ask the right questions or notice the right errors that might be happening. So we want to make sure that they leave feeling like they have their QuickBooks set up or understanding how they're going to do payroll
Okay.
next time that they need to run it. In terms of the trainings that we send people to, that's that whole breadth of things, right? The SBDC offers great trainings on how to integrate AI into your business, what AI tools might be beneficial, how to conduct some of your own market research using AI. They offer trainings on, um, kind of organizing your business, uh, business plans. There's tons of trainings out there for some of those sorts of things. And there's also a lot of information about business financial literacy. There's a lot of trainings out there on how to prepare for a commercial loan and how to um, initiate those conversations with banks and with lending agencies. So there's a lot of stuff out there that would be very duplicative for us to be offering, and they're free and they're paid for by federal and state dollars. So they're already taxpayer dollars being provided for that purpose. So we want to make sure, excuse me, that we're sending people to those. Of course, if there's a training that's for free that's not high quality, we're not going to refer people to that. But in Wyoming, we have so many high quality options that, um, we really don't have that challenge. And we're always following up to say, how was that training? So that we're constantly narrowing which are the best or most effective or at the right times of day for entrepreneurs. Because, some people love lunch and learns. Other people really need it to happen whenever they can with an asynchronous sort of model. So, we're just always looking for those different pieces that could potentially fit for the right client. There's another training option that we do that is a much more, almost like a course where it has multiple weeks, multiple kind of modules. And that's through Generator. So, Generator is a national organization that provides entrepreneurial supports, and they have a variety of different programs. What we're really lucky to have here in Wyoming is a G Alpha and G Beta training. So G Alpha is much more you're in that ideation or beginning stages, and G Beta is much more of I've already started my business, or I'm starting a more advanced type of business, maybe a high tech or a medical discovery research sort of business. And so they really help our businesses that qualify get through those critical stages to be kind of geared up to do VC funding or get some seed funding, or to gear up and, um, really figure out what their customer segment is, what that customer funnel looks like, what market they're really focused on, and how many dollars are really available in that market that they're focused on. So it's a really great program. They do 2 G betas a year and 1 G alpha right now. And everybody that's gone through it has just had an excellent experience and get that boost. And then they're connected with a national organization for mentorship, for connections, for funding. So that's another way that we've tried to partner with some of those things. If we have a student that is, um, you know, interested in entrepreneurial stuff and they're not taking our entrepreneurship classes, that's another thing that we try and refer them to, which is essentially a training. Or if we have a student or an individual rather that really wants to do a deep dive into bookkeeping, that's something that they are offering as maybe part of their consulting company. Again, we're going to partner them with our business department here at LCCC and see how we might be able to support the tuition or some of the costs of that
Okay.
associated training. We'll partner them with the El Bogan competition, which again has, it's out of the University of Wyoming, but it has some really critical educational components to that pitch competition that serve as really valuable trainings. So again, we approach it from so many different angles, and that's what's really cool about the business studio is we do a concierge type service. So it's not a one size fits all. If you come in with a new business idea, we don't just send you to this person automatically, no matter what. We listen. What is it that you need? It seems like the Wyoming Women's Business Center actually might be the best support for you. Or our course that we have right now on social media seems like a good next step for you. So we're creating this customized plan to help them navigate where they currently are and what type of business and what type of business owner they are. So it's a really cool opportunity to get to kind of create that boutique experience for each client that comes in so that they're getting what they need when they need and then following up to know, okay, that went really well. You got what you needed. it had some good stuff, but I'm still lacking XYZ. And then recreating that next step in their plan so that they get what they need.
So, yeah, I will bet that your clients are appreciating that a lot more than they do the cookie cutter approach. The fact that you can tailor their experience, their trainings, the classes they go to
Yep.
based on whether they're in ideation, whether they're in launch, whether they're in growth mode.
Yep, exactly.
So I lo- I love to ask everybody success stories.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have a success story of where somebody's experience has taken them from one stage to the next
Yeah,
stage that you can share?
absolutely. So we had an individual that is opening, um, it's not a brick and mortar type of business, but they're taking their skill set as an EMS worker and they're creating trainings to be able to work with public entities, private entities to get some of the trainings they need for their organization. And we were able to help them access the different things that they needed to get where they could get their business launched quicker um, than they would have otherwise been able to do by providing different resources. We send them off, they get going, and then we recently heard back from them. And that's our goal is that we get you where you need to go. And then as you progress, you come back when that next education need or equipment need or connection need or networking need pops back up. We want it to be this cyclical thing versus again, cookie cutter one and done and we're through. And again, not suggesting that other people do that, but there are organizations that are there to meet very specific types of needs or they provide very specific services. And our goal is to help connect people to those things when they need them and then to help create that relationship so that they're constantly circling back and saying, okay, now this has come up. Can you help me with this? And to me, that's one of the beautiful things about what we're working on and that story in particular. As companies grow, they continually need new trainings, new pieces of equipment, new ideas, new connections. And so we want to be with them for the life of that business and cycling throughout those different growth cycles, problem cycles, learning cycles.
I'll bet that keeps it fun and interesting for you.
It does. It does. Sometimes I think my brain is going to split in about 50 different parts because we'll be having a conversation with somebody about customs and equipment that's coming in from overseas. And the next minute, we're having a conversation with somebody about a food truck. And, it can just be um, very diverse, which of course I appreciate. It's something that I have always enjoyed about the different career choices that I've made. But man, there's just no two that are alike. It's crazy. And every person brings different expertise and experience, beliefs with them. So it really does take a tailored, customized approach because they really don't come in ever looking the same.
We've touched on it in previous podcasts.
Mm.
We've touched on it a little bit this morning. I I want to ask,
Yeah.
is there a particular skill gap that you see more often than others? Is
Yeah.
it finance? Is it HR? Is it marketing? But based on what you just said, I'm going to guess your answer is, well, it depends.
It does. But I will say, in my experience so far, that one of the biggest skills gap that we see is the stubborn, independent Wyoming nature getting in the way of growth. And by that, I mean, I think one of the biggest skills gap we see is utilizing a team, utilizing resources, and seeing that as a positive, not as a negative.
I'll be viewed as weak if I actually utilize somebody else's help.
I'm going to bootstrap it. I'm going to do this on my own. If I bring other people in, my core idea is going to get changed. It's going to get, and it should, right? Like having a team of experts should shift your idea for the better. And so
I might argue I'm not sure the core should change.
maybe not the core. You're absolutely right. But in general, we see a lot of entrepreneurs do really well when they're willing to build a team around them, have mentors, and utilize public and private resources. And in Wyoming, we have a really hard time getting people to engage with those three things. And I think that is one skills deficit that's kind of baked in to some of the cultural elements of our particular clientele. And so if I could get our clients to soften a little bit on that, still be very, I don't want to say cautious, but very careful about, who you bring into your inner circle and making sure you're vetting those things.
Right.
But I do think that's one skill deficit that we do see a lot. And I haven't quite figured out how to attack it, except to make sure that we're constantly working on being a trusted, reliable provider. And and that goes a long way in a culture like Wyoming's to do what you say what you mean. And we're not always good at that. I still miss emails and look at them 2 weeks later and think, oh my gosh, I left that hanging. There's tons of areas of improvement that we still need to work on in our systems to make sure that things don't fall through cracks. But I think a lot of the success, we have 99 participants right now. So we're waiting on one more to reach 100, which we're going to celebrate. It's probably happening right now, and I should be celebrating it on this podcast. But the reason that we've had essentially 10 to 12 businesses and entrepreneurs interface with us every month is because we're gaining a reputation of being kind, of being helpful, of being trustworthy, of having the interest of the client and the business ahead of our own. And so I think that for us, that's our way of helping break down maybe some of those inherent challenges that come with being a little bit cautious and independent, and which there's nothing, you need some of that to be a good entrepreneur. But there has to be some level if you want to grow at a speed and at a volume that ends up being meaningful. You almost always have to bring in a team.
And hit one of the huge ones there, right? In the I can do it myself and I should do it myself culture, being trustworthy. Because
Yep,
a lot of us grew up on a handshake culture, right?
absolutely.
And if you're not trustworthy, what does that handshake?
Yes. Yes, exactly. And we work really, really hard to say we need feedback from you. If we get negative feedback, thank you so much for sharing. We're going to work on doing this better, and we hope that you'll have the interest to work with us again and give us that chance to improve. Or, how did it go with that partner? Didn't go well. Okay, we're going to follow up with that partner. Is that okay with you? Because we want to make sure that this is a positive. So modeling one, what it looks like to be an institution or an organization with high integrity. But the second piece of that is also to model what it is to do good business. If you're not going to be willing to take feedback and to learn and to utilize the people that you're working with to grow what you do, we're not modeling that positively. And that's a really important business practice as well. It's not always fun to reach out to a partner and be like, hey, our participant reported this. Like, that's not fun to negotiate that, but it's really important. And then our partners also get the chance to learn or to, rethink the way that maybe something happened. Maybe it wasn't intentional. It's just the way that it came across.
And that trust goes both ways, right? I not only does the business owner need to trust the people they're working with, the partners
Yep.
that are coming in and volunteering their time,
Yes.
helping, need to trust that that business owner is going to
Yeah,
put that advice
exactly.
into practice.
We recently had an issue surface for one of our companies that we support, and we had to reach out to Senator Lummis's office because we needed to know kind of if there was any connections that they had or anything they could do for this particular challenge that we were experiencing. And the fact that Senator Lummis's office immediately responded to us, and that business owner was tied into that conversation with obviously a state leader's office, but other state leaders in different organizations. So we have to build that so we can trust that that business owner has the ability to interact with those individuals to get what they need as well. And so, there's just so many directions in which helping grow and helping guide and provide feedback and get and receive feedback allows us to make those sorts of contacts for our businesses and trust that they're going to handle that
Right.
professionally. And if they don't, they trust us to tell them that because they're not going to grow otherwise. So I think that's yet another example. And it ended up being a success because we were able to have trust with our partners. If we were sending this alert SOS, they knew it was serious because we don't do that regularly. We knew we could trust our client to interface with everybody professionally, and we knew everybody in that room was going to interface with them professionally. That's that's the sort of synergy that does train people to utilize resources and to build a team.
So you mentioned AI earlier,
Hmm.
and before the show, I was showing you a new
Yes.
toy I ran across.
Yes.
How do you keep your curriculum current in a world that's just changing so quickly, not only with the tools we now have
Mhm.
access to, but let's say digital marketing?
Yeah.
How do you keep it current for these business owners that are coming into the studio?
It's really difficult because, even before AI became what it is, we used AI in all sorts of different things, including some of those algorithms and SEO functions that have driven commerce on the internet, well, and off the internet with Google search results or Bing search results, whatever it might be. So, for the longest time, businesses, companies, whether they are brick and mortar but have a website or they're doing primarily online, have constantly been trying to keep abreast of whatever the newest SEO keywords are or ads require or tags that they need to change or did they label their picture appropriately. Like there's been this challenge for a really long time. So I think a lot of people have gotten better at utilizing what's available from the different providers. So if Instagram is going to boost my post, I'm going to pay for that and then trust that they are experts in this particular function. So, one of the things that we do try is find your experts and then trust those experts. Because if you're going to try and be on top of all the technology that's involved in your business, it ain't going to happen. I mean, we have a technology rollover that it was 18 months. I would assume now at this point that it's even faster. I should get that current number, but that's really difficult for a business owner to do, especially while they're also trying to stay on top of orders. Supply chain has been really wicked over the last 5 years for a variety of different reasons. So it's really difficult to stay on top of everything. What we have tried to do is help our clients recognize who, again, they can build as part of their team or what they can pay for that will serve as an expert so that they aren't missing out on sales, missing out on growth because they're trying to be that everything. It's it's probably not going to go very well for them. The other thing that we've tried to do is focus on some of the nuts and bolts that don't change regardless. You can have AI create an employee handbook for you. If you don't have that background to still look over it and make sure that it meets legal requirements, SHRM is a great organization that we've brought in to help us, set up these trainings. We want to make sure that the things that are foundational to a business, setting up your QuickBooks the first time, don't leave that to AI. Have somebody that knows what they're doing, again, that expert, make sure that you're getting that employee handbook set up correctly from the beginning, that QuickBooks set up from the beginning. Then if you need to use AI of how do I categorize this, you've set up the foundation to work within those areas. So that's what I would say we've kind of focused on. Um, there's lots of gadgets and tools that are AI focused, like, oh, I cannot hire a part-time admin assistant by using this kind of AI administrative assistant. Not for all companies, but for some. That's that's something that we try and connect people with through these trainings. But those are, I, I would say, nice to haves versus some of those concrete things. We want to make sure we're utilizing experts and being really careful that we're not we're not missing quality by utilizing.
So we've got a few minutes left. I got
Yes.
one question for you I don't think we've ever discussed. How does the business studio, how does the college as a whole, how do you guys go about measuring the economic impact that you're having on the businesses throughout the region?
So hard. We often need our businesses to report back to us. So we just sent out several surveys to those businesses. That's really difficult to get some of those things back. But the different metrics that we want to see, have you grown your product line? Have you been able to um, apply for new contracts? Or have you been able to, since you've worked with us or since you've received a piece of equipment that we helped you purchase, were you able to go for some RFPs that you weren't able to previously do? Did you get any of those? Did you add a new customer base? About how much did you earn in revenue with that new contract? Have you been able to add any employees? How much of your business is coming from out of state? That's a huge economic marker. If we're recycling money within Cheyenne or within the state, that's great, but it's not as economically valuable as 90% of your sales coming from other places. That's bringing economy into Wyoming. So we try and follow some of those sorts of metrics. We also have a tool that one of our clients created. It's called Wyo Hub, and Wyo Hub is a great website for individuals that are starting businesses. But one of the calculators that they have on there, because they have several calculators, which are really helpful for like, how much would a part-time employee cost me? It's not just your hourly rate. It's a variety of taxes and other things that go into that. So it gives a variety of calculators. One of their calculators is, what's my economic impact? And so you have this great economic impact calculator that's built on a variety of economic multipliers. If I hire one person, what is the economic impact of hiring one person? And so we have this cool tool that we can actually have our individuals that work at the business studio fill out so we can get an estimate of what their economic impact has been. So it's an imperfect science.
Yeah.
And you have to be really careful because you can really easily skew numbers to be kind of vanity metrics, vanity data. So we have to really work on, what can we say with truth, or what can we say with a good formula, even though it's still an estimate. So you have to be really careful with that data. I could talk about that for another hour. You shouldn't have asked it at the
Maybe
end.
we will. All right. That's a wrap on this episode of Beyond the Classroom. You've heard Lindsey. Send back your surveys when she sends them out, please, because we need that economic data to figure out whether or not we're doing the right things for you and the community,
Exactly.
state as a whole. All right. Well, until next time, please like and subscribe. Thanks, and
Awesome.
have a great day.
Yes.